Good afternoon. I thought I would introduce myself. I've been off the radar for a little while. As some of you know, I was very, very acutely unwell about 3 years ago, but I'm glad to say that I have made a very steady recovery and it's great to be back doing what I love doing. Anyway, so for those that don't know who I am, my name's Kelly Costello. I've been a aesthetic nurse prescriber now for some number of years. So I originally started in aesthetics in 2009. The reason that I started to do this job was, well, two reasons really. Firstly, was that my ex-husband and I at the time were going through infertility, and I was working as a midwife. It was so difficult to keep that job going and maintain any level of sanity, to be honest. So a friend of mine at the time suggested to me that I think about perhaps, diversifying my career, if you like. I thought about becoming a teacher, but I realised I wouldn't be very good at that. I didn't think at the time anyway. So we started to look at various different aesthetic clinics that were in existence at that time, and there was very few then, to be honest. And what I found, or we found, was not particularly impressive. There was nowhere in this area, I'm based in Kent, that was what I felt was patient or client focused. So there was a lot of clinics that were telling you what you needed and what you should have and how much money you needed to spend and this laser and that laser and blah blah blah, but there was nowhere that you could actually go in as a vulnerable female and say, hey, do you know what, I don't like this about my face or this about this, or whatever it was, and what can we do to get me to where I would like to be, and what would be my treatment options, and are there different methods of me doing that, and actually this is my budget, what could I have for that amount of money, can you make suggestion for me? So when I first came into aesthetics, I was probably one of the first nurses that were very patient focused, that was very ethical in my approach to aesthetics, in that I wanted to give my clients an experience from the moment they spoke to me to the moment they walked out that door, armed with all the information that they needed in order to make an informed choice whether they wanted to return and for me to treat them or not. And that's basically what's the word that I want? That's the whole, I can't think of the word that I want, but the whole basis that my business is built around is the client's needs, not that of my own. Anyway, so I started to do my training in 2009. At the time, that was with a company called Cosmetology. They have since disappeared, but at the time they was a very big contender within the aesthetic market for their training. It was just outside of Harley Street on Wigmore Street in London. And we learned how to inject Botox and how to inject filler over the weekend. And I came away from that training course and I kind of thought, blimey, this feels like a big responsibility, bearing in mind that I have been injecting humans since I was 17 and a half. So now at 29, the thought of injecting somebody's face was terrifying. So what I actually did was I came away with my qualification, my certification for doing the course that weekend, but I didn't quite feel ready to go live at that point. So what I did is I asked my family, who, as you can imagine, actually reduced in age over the weekend, really, because, they was all volunteering their faces to be Botoxed and fillers. So we went from, a very looking good for our age family to looking amazing for our age family. And that's how I built up my confidence within aesthetics. So I started off on friends and family, experimenting, I suppose. And over the years, what I then built up was a portfolio of anecdotal experiences. So when people say to me, Kelly, could you please teach me how I do so-and-so? I can never give them a straightforward answer. And the reason for that is because nobody has a straightforward face. So it's something, in my opinion, that is built up over many, many years from analysing people's faces, from watching how people use their faces with their expressions, how they are with their forehead, how they use their eyebrows, do they speak with muscles around their mouth, do they use their masseters? So there's lots and lots of different things that I would say that make up a aesthetic nurse or an aesthetic doctor or practitioner. And one of them, of course, is qualifications, but the second one for me needs to be experience. So I've been doing this job now since 2009. It was my passion. I absolutely loved it. There wasn't a face that I couldn't get my hands on or was watching on the telly or something like that I was analysing everybody's face on how can I make this person look better. But what I had to realise very quickly was it's not about what I want. So there has to be an element of it's about what the client wants. So when you're coming for a consultation with myself, one of the first things I will say to you is, what is it that's bothering you? So quite often people give me what I call my pet hate question, which they go, Kelly, what would you do with my face? You're the expert. And my answer always is, I can tell you that. That's not a problem. We can do that. However, I don't want to give you a hang up around your face that you didn't have when you entered into the clinic. So for me, the better deal of the two is that I give you the mirror. I say to you, you tell me what really bothers you about your face. And then from there, I call it my making cakes recipes. So we will build together a recipe for their cake. And from there, we will decide, do they like that recipe? They may not. They may need a little bit of extra chocolate, for instance, or a little bit of extra sugar, or they might want a bit of salt or whatever. But what we need to do is we need to get them to a place where they feel confident and comfortable and secure that what I have suggested with them actually feels okay. And then at that point, I will send them away and I will get them to research the suggestions that I've made or the recipe. And from there is never any obligation. So they can book in for their treatment if they wish to, that's absolutely fine. And if they don't wish to, that's absolutely fine. And if they take my recipe and they give it to another clinic, that's absolutely fine as well. So there's never any pressure when you come here. I just want people to know that, I'm all for giving you information, empowering you, and making sure that you make the safest, most ethically and correct decision that sits well in your heart, I suppose, and actually that you feel that you are educated and you've been informed to make an empowered decision. That is how I first came to work in aesthetics, and 13 years later, that is still how I'm working in aesthetics. I'm trying to do these little series of videos. I say the same at every video at the end. Please let me know if there's something you'd like me to talk about, or something that there's a subject that you think, oh, I'd like Kelly to discuss that, or I don't understand this. Maybe she can, put a different spin on it for me. And I will do my very best to answer your questions, but I need you to talk to me. So please subscribe. I don't even know how to do that thing that they do on YouTube videos. They kind of point down and they have a little button that pops up. I will learn how to do that and I'll eventually be able to do that. But for now, just hit the subscribe button and keep talking to me. That's all I want. Okay, tally bye.